Hey, what's up, YouTube? I want to touch base on something a little bit differently today. So what I'm going to talk about is why is it so hard to get an apprenticeship in 2021? So this year I've gotten a lot of questions on, why is it impossible to get into a tattoo shop? What am I doing wrong? And all these things kind of have reasons behind them. I'm going to go into detail in this video explaining what you could do to better your chances getting into a tattoo studio in these hard times. So it used to be a lot easier, even just 3 years ago before, the world kind of blew up and all these things happened. So I'm going to explain why this is happening, why it's so hard to get into a tattoo studio, and what you could do to better your chances, to make things easier, getting the confidence to walk into that tattoo studio and walk out with a job. So let's get into it. And if you are super interested about becoming a tattoo artist or getting into this art industry, the best thing you could do is like and subscribe down below so you can see all of my videos giving you tips and tricks to better yourself in this career and to grow as well, or to land that apprenticeship. So before we get into it, in this video, I'm going to talk into detail the tips and tricks I've learned over the past 12 years, even from when I first started having to walk into, 20 different studios until I actually got my chance, and how I stuck with that, walked into the same place multiple times, what I had mentally prepared, what I had physically prepared to be able to do these things. And that was back in the day when things were a little bit easier and it was still super hard, took a really long time. So I'm going to go into detail about all these things to help you out. The first point would be time is key. So if you're walking into these tattoo studios on Fridays or Saturdays at their peak hour, they're not going to want to talk to you. They're so busy tattooing, all day back to back to where they're not going to have time to sit down and want to go through your portfolio or talk to you about your artistic ability, all of these things. So time is key. The best thing I would say would be don't go in whenever they are just opening up either. So they're getting set up for their first tattoo appointments. They're just trying to get relaxed to start out the day. So it's not necessarily the best time. The best time that I would recommend to go in would be a couple hours before close, when things are kind of calming down. They did all their tattoo appointments for that day and they're kind of just hanging out, decompressing. So yeah, you don't want to go in as soon as they open up because they're just stressed out, everything's going on in their minds. You don't want to go in when they're busy. And you also don't want to go exactly at closes. So if they're trying to get out the door and you come in, they're going to completely write you off because the only thing on their mind right there is going home. So yeah, stick to a couple hours before closing when it is calmed down. And even if you go in and they're super busy, just come back. It's not worth putting your face in their head as that person because they're not going to give you a chance. Okay, a couple other things would be whenever you do have an opportunity to where they give you a chance and you sit down to talk about an apprenticeship, they're going to ask you a couple of questions. The biggest questions that I ask at my studio would be, what is your background in art? They're going to want you to have a solid foundation for art and in drawing because that's a big deal with tattooing. You have to draw for your appointments. You have to have a mental idea of what art is and how to draw in order to incorporate that into drawing for tattooing, which is a little bit different. So that's going to be the first question. The second question they're going to ask is, do you have a portfolio? I want to see some of your artwork you've done, either being on tattooing actual fake skins or on actual paper. Those are things that I want to see. I want to be able to understand completely where you're at in your artistic career before getting you into my shop so I could teach you the appropriate things to art for tattooing. So having a portfolio will be a big deal. One pro tip I will give you is if you show the extra initiative and show up with a portfolio that's made online completely. So if you've been tattooing a little bit and have fake skins, all those things, I recommend taking pictures of them, and you could go on actual websites to where you could print off a portfolio that's printed perfectly onto the piece of paper and come in with that with like a logo on the front or something like that. They're going to see the extra effort you put into making that portfolio, and you're going to have a way better chance landing that apprenticeship just because you prove the effort you're willing to put in for this industry. And with that, they're super cheap. You could get one for $5-10 online, but just coming in with that is going to help you out a ton. Okay, the third question I'm going to ask after looking through the portfolio and I see that you have an artistic background and you have a chance to get into the studio is, do you even have the time to come in to learn how to tattoo? This does not happen overnight. It takes a year to 2 years to be able to learn everything you need to start tattooing. And that's a period of time to where you're not getting paid at all. Now, if my apprentices come in and, you know, they're cleaning up my stations, doing all those things, I will give them a little tip money for that, but it's still a period of time to where you're not getting paid to do these things. So that's one thing you want to think about before walking into a tattoo studio. If you don't have the time, you could really destroy your chances getting into a studio, you know, walking in there and it didn't work out because of the time restraints or having another job, all of these things, to where, you know, tattoo studios talk. You know, you could go in and if it doesn't work out here, and then if another tattoo studio hears about you hiring this person, you know, they could reach out and be like, hey, you know, they just dipped out on us after me teaching them for 6 months, and it could cause you problems in the future. So that's one thing you want to think about as well when it comes to going into a tattoo studio. And these are the questions that I ask personally. So a lot of other tattoo studios ask other questions, like I've been asked before, you know, for references. They called other tattoo studios that I worked in. Cool. So other questions they're going to ask is if you could get along with the other artists. That's a big deal, because if you have constant turmoil in a tattoo shop, it's going to destroy the whole name of the tattoo studio. So you want to be able to get along with other artists and kind of have a like mind of everyone, which is something you have to check out as well. Don't just jump on an opportunity that you get, because it could be a bad environment for you as an artist and it could affect your tattoo career as well. The first tattoo studio I worked in was not good for me. You know, I talked about it in my other video about how to become a tattoo artist, explaining my story of how I became, and it was really rough for me. I ended up leaving that one and apprenticing at another studio, which took me back in my career a ton. You know, I pretty much lost a year of my career because I had to redo everything. So that's something to think about as well. Another point, and probably the last point that you're going to run into, would be if you walked into a tattoo studio and they just said, no, you know, we're not looking for anyone. We just don't have the means to bring someone on right now. That does not mean no. That just means no for right now. I've had plenty of times to where someone walked through my doors and I had an apprentice already. I don't want to have 2 apprentices. I want them to be able to fully focus my time on teaching one person. So I said, you know, I'm not really looking right now. In the future, that could change. So I've had people come back to where I've actually ended up apprenticing them. So you want to make sure that you are putting it in your head that no is not no. It just means not right this second. So if you get turned down for every tattoo studio in your area, all you could do, and the best thing to do, is not get discouraged, but focus on your craft a little bit harder. Put a little bit extra effort into it, even maybe making that portfolio, like I said, showing them that you are different and you have the willingness to learn, because in this industry, that is everything. You don't want to go into it thinking that you know how to tattoo completely already, because they're going to see right through that and completely shut you down and you're going to lose your chance. So unless they're saying, you know, no and yelling for you to get out of the tattoo studio, no does not mean no. So just try it out in a couple months and just grow in that period of time. So when you go back, they're going to see all the effort you put in and give you that shot. So awesome. I hope that this video was able to help some of you get the confidence to walk into a tattoo studio and land your apprenticeship. This is super important stuff, and it's very easy to do. Once you have the confidence, you could pretty much walk in anywhere and just ask them to give you a shot in their tattoo shop. So awesome. I hope this was able to help out, and like and subscribe down below so you can see future content from me. And like always, I hope you all have a wonderful day.